Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So this is my monthly gaming news roundup for August. So we'll jump straight in. There's a couple of different stories I want to talk about today, some more lighthearted than others, but first an update on my last video which I dedicated entirely to the Activision Blizzard scandal. So first up, a couple of days after I posted that video actually, Blizzard CEO / president, I've heard him referred to as both and I really can't seem to find any consensus on whether he's CEO of Blizzard or president of Blizzard, but yeah, anyway, so J. Allen Brack is out. He is being replaced by Jan O'Neill and Mike Ybarra, with the hopes that they can bring in some more diversity as a two-person team rather than the single lead. And what's also interesting is that the shareholders of both Blizzard and Activision Blizzard are also now suing the company, and they've launched their own lawsuit. So now obviously they're dealing with the two. Now, this lawsuit is alleging, the shareholders are arguing that they were economically damaged by company executives withholding information and allegations that have recently come to light because of the first lawsuit. So the class action lawsuit is specifically naming Activision Blizzard CEO, so that's the parent company of Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick and CFO Dennis Durkin as well. And they're saying that these executives were, quote, aware of or recklessly disregarded the fact that the false and misleading statements were being issued concerning the company. And to support this claim, the lawsuit cites multiple filings against Activision Blizzard. So what they're arguing is that Activision Blizzard tried to hide, quote, again, numerous complaints about unlawful harassment, discrimination and retaliation that were made to human resources personnel and executives which went unaddressed. The complaint goes on to suggest that, quote, the pervasive culture of harassment, discrimination and retaliation at the company would result in serious impairments to Activision Blizzard's operations. So effectively what they're arguing is that the initial culture of fear that and discrimination and whatnot that was at the company was impairing the company's ability to operate at its full potential, therefore robbing them, and as I quoted earlier, economically endangering them, so robbing them of the ability to make good on their investment effectively. Now, this could be two things. One piece, you could argue that they're shareholders. They only care about the money, and that's what they're suing for. Now, a counter-argument could be that as shareholders, their only real legal recourse was to sue about the financial implications of this to them as shareholders, but they are doing it to help support the staff that have been screwed over by this. I'm not too sure whether I actually agree with my own statement there, playing a bit of devil's advocate, but yeah, honestly, it could be both. There's no real evidence that it was either. I like to believe they're doing this to help out the staff, but shareholders, man, they do, big investors do have a tendency to be viewed as money grabbing, so we'll see. One thing I'm more interested in, though, is this Activision president, or CEO, Bobby Kotick. Now, he was mentioned earlier as one of the people who allegedly knew about all this, but he's really avoided most of the spotlight. Brack has been out, he's been ousted. Kotick effectively said this was a good thing and that they're going to try and do better, and then immediately hired a union-busting firm. So I'm not too sure his actions really play out what he's saying, but he then just kind of went away. No one's really spoken about him, so I decided to do a little bit of digging on this because I got a bit interested as to who is this guy? Why is he avoiding the spotlight here? So what I found was a few quotes from Mr. Kotick, and I'll give you one right now. So he says, "We remain intensely focused on the well-being of our employees, and we are committed to doing everything possible to ensure that our company has a welcoming, supportive and safe environment where all of our team members can thrive." However, I have also found another quote, which I will put on screen now, which is this. I think we definitely have been able to instill the culture, the skepticism and pessimism and fear that you should have in an economy like we are in today. And so, while generally people talk about the recession, we are pretty good at keeping people focused on the deep depression. Now, these were statements that were made in 2010, just after the recession, where many jobs, particularly in the gaming industry, were extremely uncertain and people were not feeling secure in their working environments. So this doesn't strike me as a man who wants his company to quote-unquote thrive. He also actively stated that he wanted to take the fun out of making video games, and that he was reworking the incentive scheme for employees to focus entirely on profit, and that you would only get bonuses and whatnot if the game made profit, and it was based entirely on how much profit the game made. Basically encouraging people to think of long-term monetization schemes rather than, making a decent video game. And as I say, his words, I want to take the fun out of making video games. So yeah, that's what I found. I'm going to give you my take on this. I think Mr. Kotick is garbage. I think he's a garbage human being. I think he's a terrible person. I think his union-busting company are there to do exactly that. They have a history of that. They're there to break up any unionisation attempts. So yeah, I think it's amazing this man has escaped any sort of pushback. And I just don't think... I think a lot of these problems are probably due to him. He clearly wants to instill a particular type of corporate culture. Yeah, I think that's my take on that. I'll leave that there and we'll move on to our next story. Okay, so related to Activision, but a little bit of a lighter note, the new Call of Duty game has been finally given a release date, and it is Call of Duty Vanguard. And I'm going to be honest, it looks kind of interesting to me. So, it's going back to World War II, which I feel a bit odd about. I've always felt a bit odd about video games that play out in a war that actually happened, where real people actually died, actually got hurt and fought, and there were a lot of real-world implications. Having said that, I have played them in the past, they're kind of cool, and I think honestly going back to World War II is a good idea for this franchise. I think Call of Duty has been rapidly losing relevance over the last few years. It's still sold very well, but people have been criticising it, particularly the jetpack era. So I think a return to form would be good, and this appears to me like it will be a return to form. It genuinely looks like that it will have a massive day one multiplayer offering with lots and lots of, I think it was 20 maps there's tight integration with Warzone as well, a multi-storied zombie mode. It just generally seems like, and the campaign as well actually, the campaign looks quite nice. I have the gameplay trailer on screen now for you to see, but it looks like you'll be fighting on many different fronts, including the Pacific Theatre as well, which is kind of cool. I like that they're mixing that up. So yeah, this is coming out in November, and honestly I haven't played Call of Duty for a few years, but watching this trailer, I kind of want to get it, even just for the campaign. But we'll see what I decide to do on that. But there we go, the new Call of Duty game's announced. So next up we have a return to the more serious side, unfortunately. And this is China and what's happening with the restriction of video games over there. So it has been announced by the Chinese government that they are going to impose strict limits on kids playing video games, and it is specifically kids. They came into effect on September 1st, so a couple of days ago. And what it's going to be focusing on is online games. So it's going to limit online games to 3 hours per week for children under 18. Now that is not just they can play them anytime they want. That is going to be between 1 hour, between 8 PM and 9 PM, Friday through Sunday, and public holidays. So no online gaming during the week at all. Again, this only affects under 18s, and there doesn't seem to be any information on whether this is going to affect offline games and single-player games. But, I mean, we'll see. China has been repeatedly issuing restrictions like this over the last few years. They seem to be heavily focused on video game addiction. And what they're doing is the companies over there, one of them being Tencent, is they're holding these companies responsible, and they are requiring them to limit this on the server side of things. So there won't really be much way of around it. I mean, there is a limit currently, but most of the kids have just been using their parents' IDs to act as over 18. Now, what the Chinese government are also doing is requiring the companies to create a real name verification system that is much harder to get around than it currently is. It's a fairly broad crackdown, but honestly, that's what's happening. That my way of looking at it is, I think video game addiction is a genuine issue that does affect people. I feel sometimes in the past that I've let my life sort of slide away due to video games. I've, maybe been a little obsessed at times. But I do not like the way this has been dealt with. Yes, video game addiction is a problem, but the way the Chinese government have done it is the continuation of the vilification of video games in the media and culture just generally. There still are a lot of people who think violent video games cause people to be aggressive, even though study after study after study has proven this to be false. Every time there is a mass shooting in the States, for example, there'll always be some pundit who comes up saying, well, they played video games, they played Call of Duty, and it's just simply not true, and there is no backing for it. And I think, personally, this is a vilification of video games. Yes, video game addiction is a problem, but I don't think more than 3 hours a week is an issue for kids. Now, video game, I say addiction is a problem, particularly with kids who should be learning, doing their homework, whatnot, and playing outside. To be fair, it's good to get fresh air, particularly with the last couple of years we've had where people have been forced to stay inside. But my take on this is I don't really agree with it. I certainly don't think that it should be dealt with on a regulatory level where governments are imposing limits. This should be dealt with from a parental side and a cultural side where sort of parents teach their kids and enforce that in the home, not from a governmental degree. But that's my take. We'll move on now to my final piece of news this month, and that is the Ariana Grande concert that was in Fortnite. Now, there's not really that much news to this. It was actually, they're calling it the Rift Tour, and it is more of a tour, unlike some of the previous concerts that have been in Fortnite, such as Travis Scott and deadmau5. This one wasn't just a one-off show. There was multiple times that this could be done, and there was multiple events as well. It was a whole event, a whole process that you went through. And I think this is great. That's the news. That Ariana Grande is doing a tour in Fortnite, or did a tour in Fortnite with multiple sort of times of it happening. I think it's fantastic. I really do. I am quite interested in the way that, particularly over the past year, where everyone can't go out to big public meeting places, or maybe can't wherever they're from, or shouldn't in some areas, that Fortnite in particular has been able to give people a virtual live concert. I think that is incredible, the merging of the music industry and the gaming industry, the way entertainment is evolving as technology evolves, so that we can learn and embrace new ways to appreciate art and appreciate music and appreciate gaming. This culmination, this combination of it all, I genuinely, I think it's great. I really do think it's great. I'll put some footage up on screen of it, and this has been going on for a while, and Fortnite has been experimenting with this over the last 18 months and whatnot. But the combination of technology, I think, is fantastic. It plays into my idea that technology is going to make a lot of things better, such as in museums, or historical sites, they're using virtual reality to allow people to see how something would have looked at the time, to give them a virtual tour of that. And a lot of museums have been putting up their entire museum on a virtual tour. Just somebody films it and they walk around, you can talk about it. It's great. I love the way people are now using technology to experiment with and play with the concept of entertainment. And I think I'm very excited about where this could go in the future, particularly with the sort of dawn of virtual reality coming on board. Yeah, I'm just really excited about it, and I want to see more. But that was it. That was the story. That was my take on it. And that was my final story of the day. Or I should say, these are monthly gaming videos, not daily. I am not doing daily videos. I simply do not have the strength to do that. But yeah, if you got this far, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for giving my opinion your time. I really appreciate that. I hope this maybe has been a little bit informative and you can use it to search for what you're interested in gaming. And if there's anything people do want me to talk about or want to talk to me about, that's absolutely fine. Go in the comments, send me a message, whatever. But yeah, thank you so much. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like. It really does help with the algorithm. I don't get many views on my videos and I would like more. So give me a like, give it a subscribe if you really liked it. And if you want to see more of my stuff on screen now, YouTube will give you a suggestion on what you could watch. But that's it from me this month. I'll be back next week with my standard videos, and I will be back next month with another monthly gaming update. So thank you very much again, and I will see you next time. Stay safe.